Hey kindergarten friends, welcome to our story time today. Today, if you look in the background here, while I'm reading the story, I have a video here all about emperor penguins. Okay, so you won't be able to hear the video, but it's just kind of showing some of the emperor penguins in the background. Now, like I talked about in our lessons this week, emperor penguins are the biggest penguin. So if you think of a child who's about 7 years old, so somebody who's maybe about in grade 2, these penguins are about the same height as those penguins. They're probably a little bit heavier, but they're about that big. Okay, they're the biggest penguins. They're very fascinating. So I'm going to read you a story called The Emperor's Egg. There are 17 kinds of penguins, but the emperor is the only one that breeds in Antarctica in midwinter. The adults arrive at their breeding areas often more than 100 miles from the open sea in late autumn. A few weeks later, the female lays her single egg and returns to the sea, leaving the male to keep the egg warm until it hatches a couple of months later. At first, the male and female take turns caring for the chick, but soon as it's big enough to be left while both parents go fishing for its food by the sea. By the time it's 4 months old, the young penguin's coat of down has been replaced by adult feathers. It now also sets off for the sea, where it has to start taking care of itself. The emperor's egg. Down at the very bottom of the world, there's a huge island that's almost completely covered in the snow and ice. It's called Antarctica, and it's the coldest, windiest place on Earth. The weather's bad enough there in summer, but in winter it's really horrible. It's hard to imagine anything actually living there. But wait, what's that shape over there? It can't be. Yes, do you see the shape? What is it? It's a penguin. It's not just any old penguin either. It's a male emperor penguin, the biggest penguin in the world. And he's doing a very important job. He's taking care of his egg. Male emperor penguins are about 4 feet tall. The females are a little smaller. He didn't lay it himself, of course. His mate did that a few weeks ago. But very soon afterward, she turned around and waddled off to the sea. So the mom went to the sea to eat, and the dad is now taking care of the eggs. That's where female emperor penguins spend most of the winter, swimming about, getting as fat as they can, eating as much as they can, and generally having a very nice time, as far as you can tell. Emperor penguins eat mainly fish, squid, and tiny shrimp-like animals called krill, which leaves the father penguin stuck on the ice with his egg. Now, the most important thing about egg sitting is to stop your egg from getting cold. Inside the egg, a penguin chick is starting to grow. If the egg gets cold, the chick will die. That means it has to be kept off the ice and out of the wind. And what better way to do that than to rest it on your feet and tuck it right up under your tummy, which is just what the father penguin does. See the egg resting on his feet, and then he has this flap of skin that goes over. And that's how he'll stay for 2 whole months until his egg is ready to hatch. Can you imagine it, standing around in the freezing cold with an egg on your feet for 2 whole months? That's the whole length of summer. It's a long time. Female emperor penguins lay 1 egg in May or June, which is the beginning of winter in Antarctica. What's more, there's nothing for the father penguin to eat on land. So that means 2 whole months with an egg on your feet and no dinner. I don't know about you, and because I don't know about you, but I'd be very, very miserable. He doesn't get to have breakfast or lunch or any snacks. I'd be grumpy too. Luckily, the penguins don't seem to mind too much. They have thick feathers and lots of fat under their skin to help keep them warm. And when it gets really cold and windy, they all snuggle up together and shuffle over the ice in a great big huddle. Most of the time, the huddle trundles along very slowly, but sometimes when penguins get to a particularly slippery slope, they slide down on it on their tummies, pushing themselves along with their flippers, always remembering to take care of their egg and trying hard not to bump into each other. And that's how the father penguin spends the winter, until one day he hears a chip, chip, chip. His egg is starting to hatch. It takes a day or so, but finally the egg cracks right open, and out pops the penguin chick. You can see penguin chicks behind me. They don't look black and white because they still have their baby feathers. Now the father penguin has two jobs to do. He has to keep the chick warm, and he has to feed it. The chick is only 6 inches tall at first and much too small to keep warm by itself. 6 inches is about this big. But on what? The chick is too small to be taken off to sea to catch food, and it can't be left behind on the ice. Well, deep down in the father's penguin's throat, there's a pouch where he makes something a little like milk, and that's what he feeds to his hungry chick. The father penguin can only make enough of the milky stuff to feed his chick for a couple of weeks, but just as he's about to run out, a dot appears on the horizon. It gets closer and closer, and yes, who's this coming back, friends? It's Mom. She starts trumpeting hello, and the father penguin starts trumpeting hello, and the chick whistles. The racket goes on for hours, and it really does sound as if they are extremely pleased to see each other. Every adult penguin has its own special call, like a fingerprint. Chicks have their own special whistle too. As soon as things have calmed down, the mother penguin is sick right into her chick's mouth. Yuck, you may think. Yum, thinks the chick. So that's what the moms do, is they eat food and they chew it up and they spit it out into their baby's mouth. That's how birds feed their babies, and penguins are birds. And gobbles it all down. It's the mother's turn to take care of the chick now, while the father sets off to sea for a well-earned meal of his own. About time, too. And that's it. And that's all about Emperor Penguin. So I hope you enjoyed listening to the story. I hope you got to see some of the video in the background as well of Emperor Penguins. Okay, thanks for joining me today, friends. Bye.